ओके, वेलकम टू द ब्लैक होल। जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, इंडिया में इलेक्शंस हुए जो अप्रैल में शुरू हुए और जून में ख़त्म हुए। तकरीबन 650 मिलियन लोगों ने वोट डाला, जिसमें से आधी तो ख़वातीन थीं, औरतें थीं। और इसका जो नतीजा है, सारी दुनिया में इसका इंतज़ार हुआ और लोगों को ये खौफ था कि अब इंडिया एक ऐसे रास्ते पर चलेगा जिसमें वहाँ पर सेक्युलरिज्म ख़त्म हो जाएगी। लेकिन जो इन इलेक्शंस का नतीजा सामने आया, उससे एक ख्याल पैदा हुआ है कि शायद इंडिया जिस डगर पर चल रहा था अब वो से हट जाए। तो इस मौजू पर बात करने के लिए आज हमारे साथ डॉक्टर विवेक मोंटेरो हैं। विवेक मोंटेरो स्टेट सेक्रेटरी ऑफ सेंटर ऑफ इंडियन ट्रेड यूनियंस हैं, ये महाराष्ट्र में, और जॉइंट कोऑर्डिनेटर ऑफ द ट्रेड यूनियन जॉइंट एक्शन कमेटी के सरबराह हैं। इनका बैकग्राउंड बड़ा दिलचस्प है। इन्होंने बम्बई यूनिवर्सिटी से फिज़िक्स में बैचलर्स किया, उसके बाद ये चले गए कैलटेक, जहाँ से इन्होंने एमएससी की और फिर पीएचडी की थ्योरेटिकल फिज़िक्स में स्टोनी ब्रुक यूनिवर्सिटी से। तो 1974 में ये वापस इंडिया आए और उस वक्त से वो मुसलसल ट्रेड यूनियन एक्टिविज़म में लगे रहे। मेरी इनसे एक ही दफ़ा मुलाकात हुई है। पहली मुलाकात 2005 में हुई थी, मगर ऐसे लगा जैसा कि मैं इनको हमेशा से जानता हूँ। तो आज वो हमारे साथ हैं, इस वक्त बम्बई में हैं। पता नहीं आजकल उसको मुंबई कहते हैं, लेकिन उस ज़माने में बम्बई कहते थे। तो अब चलिए इनसे मिलते हैं। मैं स्क्रीन नीचे करता हूँ। विवेक, आई होप यू आर देयर।
यस।
अच्छा, गुड। एक मिनट ठहरिए, प्रोजेक्टर ऑन हो रहा है और सब लोग फिर आपको देख सकेंगे। गुड, ग्रेट टू सी यू। यू लुक वेरी वेल।
Well, it's a great pleasure, a double pleasure for me. पहली बात है कि आपसे मुलाकात हो रही है इतने सालों के बाद। पिछली बार जैसे आपने बताया, आईआईटी बॉम्बे में आप लेक्चर दे रहे थे और मैं ऑडियंस में था। और the second very important reason why I'm very happy is to meet so many of our young colleagues and friends in Pakistan and others who are also watching on social media. So sabhi ko namaskar, and I think let's get started. Yeah.
Good. तो विवेक, यहाँ से शुरू करते हैं कि what was your personal role? I know you were very active in the election campaign. Which party? Was it the Communist Party of India that you were active in, or which, or was it trade unions? So tell us a little bit about what you were doing and how you found the atmosphere there. What all did you do?
देखिए, महाराष्ट्र में एक बहुत ही पॉजिटिव रिजल्ट निकला इलेक्शन का। और just to give you a figure, there were 41 NDA candidates elected in the 2019 election, and this came down to 17. And the India Alliance, which was only, I think, around 7 or so in the 2019, it went up to 31. तो एक काफी बड़ा बदलाव महाराष्ट्र में हुआ। और महाराष्ट्र में इंडिया अलायंस बहुत ही सही तरीके से काम कर रही थी। अलग अलग पार्टीज थे, कांग्रेस, इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस थी, शरद पवार के नेशनलिस्ट कांग्रेस और उद्धव ठाकरे के शिवसेना उद्धव बाला साहब ठाकरे। मैं खुद मेरी पार्टी कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया मार्क्सिस्ट, हमने लोकसभा सीट हम नहीं लड़े, मगर हमारे एक्टिविस्ट सभी जगह पर बहुत ही एक्टिव थे, क्योंकि इस बार हम लोगों ने तय किया था कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को हराना ये अत्यंत जरूरी है। और इस काम में सारे ट्रेड यूनियन संगठन मिल करके उन्होंने इस कैंपेन में एक साथ में उतरे थे। So when you ask me about my personal role, I am one of the coordinators, state coordinators of something called the Kamgar Karmachari Sangatana Sanyukt Kriti Samiti Maharashtra, a big name. Basically, it means the Trade Union Joint Action Committee, Maharashtra. And that has, as members, the INTUC, the ITUC, which is the CPI-led union, the Hindu Mazdoor Sabha, the NTUI, my union CITU, and also the state government employees, the bank employees, insurance employees. हमारे सारे मेंबरशिप महाराष्ट्र में करीब करीब 25 लाख, 2.5 मिलियन से ज्यादा है सिर्फ महाराष्ट्र स्टेट में मिल करके। जॉइंट मेंबरशिप इज मोर देन 2.5 million. And this organization, in a very systematic manner, passed a resolution that it is necessary to defeat the BJP, and for that issued some guidelines to all its members. It reached all its members. So I think this factor was a contributing factor, along with, of course, this farmers' movement. I personally was active in the constituency where I happened to stay, and here the BJP was defeated, yes.
Okay. But now Maharashtra is really where the BJP was very strong, and this goes back to the time of Bal Thackeray and the Mumbai riots, and there's a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment there. So how did it all work out? What were your rallying cries? आप क्या कह रहे थे कि लोगों को क्यों मोदी को हराना है? Was it economic reasons, or was it the divisive communalist aspect of Modi's campaign?
As I mentioned, Pervez, initially there was a major alliance between what is called the Mahavikas Aghadi, Maharashtra Development Alliance, Mahavikas Aghadi, consisting of the Congress, one section of the Shiv Sena, which is led by Uddhav Thackeray, the son of Bala Saheb Thackeray, and the Nationalist Congress led by Sharad Pawar. And on the other side, along with the BJP, there is another section of the Shiv Sena, which was led by the Chief Minister Shinde, Eknath Shinde, and a section of the Nationalist Congress, which was a split-away section from led by Ajit Pawar. And in fact, one of the major questions in the election in Maharashtra, it's very interesting. I mean, I cannot explain in brief words, but Maharashtra is also the headquarters of the RSS at Nagpur, and BJP is backed by the RSS. So here, in fact, there was a very interesting ideological contest between livelihood issues on the one hand, which were brought to the forefront, and also other issues, like, for example, the issue of the domination of the center on the states, the federal character of our constitution, and other issues about the hate politics based Hindutva, and Hinduism, which does not believe in hate politics, which is plural, which believes in all the different religions working together under a common constitution. So the difference between, for example, the Hinduism of Mahatma Gandhi and the Hinduism of the people who killed him. So this kind of a divide was also very much there. And it struck a chord with the voters of Maharashtra who wanted to remove the domination of the so-called Gujarat lobby, Modi, Shah, Adani, Ambani, and also wanted to reject the hate politics which Modi was propagating.
But was this only within Maharashtra, or was it nationally that the RSS and BJP had differences?
Whereas, as you know, India is a very complex social formation of many states. And I would say it would not be incorrect to say that each state had its own narrative. The narrative in Kerala was different from that of Tamil Nadu. It was different from that the adjoining state of Karnataka or Andhra Pradesh or Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh. In fact, every state was a very interesting balance of forces. And what is important is that in the three major states of Maharashtra being one of them, Uttar Pradesh was absolutely important, extremely important, and West Bengal. In all these three states, the BJP was substantially curtailed, and it has shrunk substantially for different reasons in each state.
Well, Ayodhya is absolutely the most, UP is the most clear example of that, isn't it? Where in spite of Ram Mandir, it had to, it lost very badly. And there, I'm not sure what the real reason is. You can tell me better.
Yeah. You see, Parvez, in your write-up for this talk, you have described the setback with the BJP as an astonishing setback. Frankly, I was not at all astonished. Now, as you know, there's something called a Fermi calculation in physics. We do that. We take available data, and based on the available data, you do a typed reasoning. And based on the data that was available prior to this election, to me, it was very clear that the BJP was going to shrink substantially. In fact, I wrote a note on this and sent it to three progressive newspapers. All of them thought the note was too optimistic. None of them published it. But I'm very happy to say that in that note, I thought that BJP would come down to 220. Actually, I was a little surprised that they went up to 240. So the reason for this is that if you compare 2019 vote percentages in every state and subsequent to 2019, in all the important states, the BJP vote share has come down by not less than 10% in most states. And based on this, if you do a assembly level analysis, it was clear that the BJP is going to be substantially curtailed. But they had a different narrative. Even the international press had its own narrative. They are also very heavily invested in India. They want very much Modi to win. And of course, the corporate media in India is also very heavily invested in Modi. So they made their own narrative and they believed it. But actually, it is not surprising that BJP has curtailed. But what is surprising? And what I was surprised.
You didn't go along with अब की बार 400 पार. क्या था? अब की बार
400 पार. हाँ.
400 पार. लेकिन अब की बार मोदी सरकार तो आ गई ना. सरकार तो आ गई.
हमारे कामगार संगठन कृति समिति ने एक स्लोगन दिया था, अब की बार बीजेपी की हार.
अच्छा.
Yeah, and that slogan reached millions of people all over Maharashtra.
अच्छा,
अब की बार बीजेपी सत्ता से बाहर, अब की बार बीजेपी की हार. And there are very good reasons for that. I was talking about Uttar Pradesh. In Uttar Pradesh, you see, if you look at the vote share, of course, it has come down from 50% 2019 down to slightly over 40% now. But what has happened in Uttar Pradesh, which has made the difference, is three things. पहली बात यह है कि उत्तर प्रदेश में इस बार इंडिया अलायंस पिक्चर में था. पिछली बार ये सारे पार्टीज अलग अलग प्लेटफॉर्म पे लड़ रहे थे. इस बार समाजवादी पार्टी और इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस और कई पार्टीज मिलकर के इंडिया अलायंस एक सब्सटैंशियल फॉर्मेशन के रूप में इलेक्शन में खड़े थे. दैट इज वन इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर. द अदर इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर is that the Dalit voters who last time gave the Basapa, BSP, gave BSP 20% vote. This time, most of the Dalit voters felt that this is going to help the BJP. And if Modi wins, he's going to change the constitution of Dr. Ambedkar. So there was tactical voting by Dalit voters to vote for the Indian alliance. That is the second reason. And the third, and a very important reason, is that Uttar Pradesh was also the place where the farmers' movement had roots in many, many districts. And on the 5th of September 2021, there was this Mahapanchayat, the Kamdar Shetkari Mahapanchayat in Muzaffar Nagar, the very place where riots had occurred a few years earlier, 2013. And in that, 1 million strong rally, it was decided to defeat the communalism of the BJP. Communalism was mentioned by all the farmer organizations. So all these factors, the class factor of the worker, farmer fighting the attack on their rights by the Modi government, the Dalit voters deciding that they did not want Modi to win, and of course the India Alliance, which had a substantial presence. These three factors made a big difference. See, with 40%, it's difficult to win an election. But earlier, BJP was winning because the balance 60% was getting fragmented. इस बार ऐसा नहीं हुआ. इस बार जो सारे opposition forces थे, वो एक साथ में थे और दलित sections भी यहाँ पर वोट दिए. सामर sections जो पहले शायद पिछले बार बीजेपी को वोट दिए थे, उन्होंने इंडिया अलायंस को वोट दिया और बीजेपी को उत्तर प्रदेश में बड़ा मार खाए होंगे. Not just Modi, Adityanath also, Amit Shah, people like this Ajay Mishra Teni, he lost the elections. Smriti Irani lost her elections. And Modi very narrowly won, actually, if you compare it to his wins the last two times. Uttar Pradesh was something, in a sense, astonishing, but if you look at the factors behind it, not astonishing, it was a direct consequence of these three factors.
जी, मैंने राहुल गांधी की स्पीच सुनी थी पार्लियामेंट में, और उधर मोदी और अमित शाह और आदित्यनाथ योगी भी बैठे हुए थे वहाँ पे. तो उनके चेहरे बिल्कुल उतरे हुए थे. दे लुक्ड वेरी डिप्रेस्ड. और एक दफ़ा मोदी जी खड़े हुए कुछ एतराज़ करने के लिए, बट लेकिन बड़ा हल्का एतराज़ था. तो दे डू सीम टू बी ऑन द बैक फुट. इससे कितना फ़र्क पड़ेगा इंडिया के पूरे ओवरऑल डायरेक्शन में? क्या आप समझते हैं कि एक्चुअली जो सेक्युलरिज्म पीछे धकेला गया है, उसके वापस आने की कुछ उम्मीद हम कर सकते हैं?
Yeah, Praveen, let me address this question now. See, it's not that India stopped being a secular country prior to 2024. But I think it is more accurate to say that there was a non-secular communal party in power at the center. Not in many states, in some states, but at the center. And there was a systematic attempt to communalize the politics of this country by the BJP, and it's at the background the RSS. But at the same time, you see, we have a secular constitution. That constitution has a lot of space for mass movements and for other social mobilizations. And it's not as if all these mass movements and all these other social mobilizations were absent. On the contrary, right from 2015-14, when Modi was elected till now, there has been a relentless resistance in many sectors. But particularly the important sectors are the workers, the working class, the trade unions, the farmers, the farmer organizations, many state governments who very stoutly defended their rights under the constitution against the encroachments of the center. The women's movement, which also took up issues like the attacks on the female wrestlers in Haryana and the Dalit movement, attacks against Dalits, and also a secular protest from all these sections together against the attacks being happening on minorities, whether it is Muslims or in the northeast in Manipur. So it's not as if the secular space was not there or it was not being used. It was being used, and it certainly now, in the present circumstances, the space has expanded, and it will be used in a much wider way, in a much more systematic way. It was not recognized by the Godi media, by the international media, because they didn't want to see that this was happening. But as I said, it was not astonishing. There was a substantial resistance. The students put up very good resistance, and we saw that just recently, where in JNU, where there have been so many attacks, the right wing, the communal elements there were routed. They could not win a single seat. So this systematic and relentless resistance, which was a class resistance from basic classes, took place in the last 10 years under a secular constitution. That constitution has been defended by these elections. And going ahead, these spaces will have to be used and will be used to strengthen the secular fabric and to further shrink the communal forces. This is something that has to be done. So this election is not, it is a game changer, certainly. It is a very important election, but it is work in progress. And coming down the line now, this year there are going to be elections in Maharashtra, there are going to be elections in Jharkhand, in Haryana. So this process of cleaning up, of detoxifying the Indian polity is going to continue at the state level. And Uttar Pradesh, of course, when the elections are held there, also will be a different state. Of course, some states like Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh, I was a little surprised by how well the BJP did there. So those are states which should have to be given special attention.
And it gained ground in the south. Did it?
Pardon?
It did. The BJP did gain ground in the south of India.
Hardly. Let me give you the facts on that. They gained one seat in Kerala. They drew a blank in Tamil Nadu, where, like the last time, there was a small increase in the percentage vote, both in Kerala as well as in Tamil Nadu. In Karnataka, they lost, seats which they had earlier. So they, I think, lost about 7 or 8 seats to the Congress in Karnataka. In Telangana, they made some gains, but so did the Congress. That is because the BRS lost, its seats there. But in the assembly elections, BJP did very badly in Telangana. And in Andhra Pradesh, it's not the BJP who has won. They have won by an opportunistic alliance with a party like Chandrababu Naidu, the same person who is in favor of reservation for Muslims. Okay, and he said that his policy, his government's policy, is a policy of giving reservation to Muslims on the caste basis. And BJP is completely against that. So they've had to ally with Chandrababu Naidu, and I will not consider that as a major gain for the BJP in Andhra Pradesh. So in all the southern states and Maharashtra, which is also linked to the southern states, BJP has suffered a substantial setback.
Vivek, what you have said about the process of detoxification as having started is very heartening. And it's very heartening that India, who we in Pakistan so admired as a model of secularism, may perhaps regain that lost ground. But now I have to ask you some pretty sensitive stuff, and so answer as you will. One of the reasons for Modi's popularity was because of the way that he handled the Muslim issue in India. And there are certain elements of truth in what he is saying and has been saying, and that is Muslim personal law, which is so regressive that even in Pakistan we do not accept it, like triple talaq. That is not accepted in Pakistan, and yet it is accepted in India. How do you look at it as a communist?
See, for Modi, Muslim bashing is important for consolidating a certain section of the vote, that is his vote bank, his Hindutva hate politics vote bank. And that is, this undercurrent is there all the time, and it was there also during this election campaign. But actually, it's not communalism alone which is behind Modi. You cannot understand communalism in India only by looking at the religious issues. Actually, it is a corporate communal combine. And the Gujarat model, which is the corporates, the big corporates, taking over public services, taking over public property in a big way, and at the same time putting a lot of money into the media, purchasing the entire media. So this combine of corporate big money, the handover of national resources, oil, coal, network, the railways, transport, electricity, handing over these sectors to corporate media, and it happens that all of them are, or many of them are from Gujarat, as somebody put it. दो लोग देश को बेच रहे हैं और दो लोग खरीद रहे हैं और चारों गुजराती हैं, गुजरात के हैं. So this corporate communal combine is really the politics of Modi. Modi was very systematically promoting this corporate takeover, which is a right-wing agenda, not just in India, but it's also a right-wing agenda in America and in Europe. The takeover of public sector by big private corporations. This whole combine is something which, is behind Modi. And in that, from time to time, Modi certainly did take up issues which struck a chord of so-called, I would put it in inverted commas, progressive, measures for undermining the conservative elements in Muslim society. As a communist, I would say that our women's organization is also against this whole policy of, or this whole Shariat law being imposed, triple talaq. But we feel that in a country like India, this has to be done by building a consensus, by taking these issues, discussing them in the Muslim community. And this is something that our organization, our women's organization, does. We don't shirk, we don't avoid such questions when we work among Muslim women, whether it's in Mumbai or in Uttar Pradesh. And we feel that it is by this, when the community is itself understanding and ready for this, that we should then put this in the form of the law. Specifically on this issue of triple talaq.
Good. I quite agree with your analysis that it's corporate capitalism which has now made an unholy alliance with the holy ones. And that was so evident during the Ram Mandir construction and then the inauguration. In terms of bringing change to the Muslim community in India, do you see any signs of hope over there, or are they still trapped with the kind of leadership that they've had for now 75 years? Is there an attempt to break out of those, of trying to get Sharia into India? Because we have exactly some of those same problems here in Pakistan. There are some very regressive laws, and there is an overproduction of children. This is something that Modi has again and again picked up on successfully. And so how do you take on this very sensitive question? On the one hand, you don't want to please what the BJP walas are saying. On the other hand, you can't close your eyes to the fact that things have perhaps gone too far in that direction. Now, in Pakistan, we don't even have a Ministry of Population Planning out of fear of the mullahs. And this is catastrophic for us. The only places that this is ever discussed is in the English newspapers, and that too diluted down. There is no attempt by the government to even propagate the idea that we are getting vastly overpopulated. So how do you, as a progressive, handle this in a situation which is a very difficult one?
Well, that's a very interesting question. It's not exactly on the subject of what we are talking today, but since you have asked it, let me say that actually the data in India shows that the largest reduction in the fertility rate has taken place in the Muslim community. It's still not down to the average level, but it has substantially reduced from what it was, let's say, 20 years back. And the reason for this, I think, is that education. The Muslim women are now, entering education because there is a right to education act, it's compulsory. But also they're entering higher education in a big way. Many more Muslim women are educated. And there is a concomitant, consequence in fertility as more and more Muslim women get educated. So if you look at the fertility rate in Kashmir, which is completely Muslim, it is much less than Uttar Pradesh, which is largely Hindu. Similarly, for Kerala, if you look at the fertility rates in those districts which are largely Muslim, they are much less than the fertility rates in as compared to the country as a whole. So there are many issues like poverty and in particular education which are very important. Now let me talk about education. That is why there was a move in Karnataka to ban hijab for the students who are, school students who are attending school. Now we as a party oppose that ban because we feel that, it's more important to get these sections which have traditionally been excluded from education. It's much more important to get them into good schools and get good education, get them to schools where they're exposed to, secular ideas. So, and if they want to wear a hijab or if somebody wants to wear a turban, or what is on the head, it does not matter. What's in the head is more important. And that is why we felt that we opposed this attempt. It was being raised by the BJP purely to communalize and polarize the population before the Karnataka elections. It didn't work. And now they're no longer raising the issue because it's no more elections are there. But I think we have to take a very nuanced, approach to this. At the same time, we're saying that you cannot ban hijab in schools. But if some Muslim girl does not want to wear a hijab and she is being forced to wear a hijab, then we will support that such Muslim girls also in their choice of what to wear. So I think we have to look at these issues in a very specific situation and conducting a campaign of secular democratic ideology among the Muslim and all the other masses of this country is very important. The difference, I think, between Pakistan and India is the constitution. Our constitution was worked out with a lot of discussion 75 years back. This is the 75th year of the Indian constitution. And it is very, it has not just secularism, it also has something which is different from secularism, which is respect for all religions, which is something quite different from secularism. Sarva Dharma Samabhava, pluralism in the matters of religion, respect for others, faiths and others' religions, and secularism also. So all these things are there in the constitution. It's a very, carefully worked out document, which is, in a way, stood the test of time. And what is important, I think, is that in this election, the Muslim population of Muslim communities in many states, they stood by the constitution also. And this constitution also gives rights, for example, to a woman to marry outside her religion. So when we take the constitution to a Muslim community, we can talk about the right of Muslim girls there to marry Hindu boys, or Muslim boys to marry Hindu girls. These are rights of Indian citizens under our constitution. And there have been many instances. Our women's organization, which is IDWA, works for promoting inter-caste, inter-religious marriages. And there have been many instances where, particularly when a Muslim girl is marrying a Hindu boy, where there has been a lot of resistance, which our organization is helping them to face. So this kind of a social movement is also being conducted by mass organizations, and this has to continue.
Well, good. Social change has to happen. There has to be mobility between castes as well in India. It's not just Muslim, Hindu. It's much more than that, between Sikhs and Muslims and Hindus, Christians, everybody. And India has done a much, much better job in this respect than Pakistan has. Now, one last question before I hand over the mic.
Let me just intervene here. See, in India, we have still not, at all or hardly dealt with the question of caste. And it's not as if caste is there only among Hindus in India. Caste is there among Christians. In my own community, I come from Goa, there is a caste divide within Christians. And there have been, people who are denied burial rights in a cemetery because of their caste among Christians. Similarly, there is caste among Muslims also, and caste among Sikhs also. Though the religions themselves do not admit caste, and many people change religions because they want to overcome the restrictions of caste. But in fact, it continues, and so it's really a long process. And the ideological work, at the ground, at the grassroots level, among the masses, this is very, very important. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And the Kami and the Sardar in Pakistan, in anywhere, they cannot sit together. One has to sit on the floor, the other sits on his manji. One last question before I hand over the mic to the audience. How do you see the third term as being different from the first two? Has this election setback, do you think this is going to substantially affect Modi's attitudes, his aggressive style? Is he going to have to make compromises at a very important level, or will he try to push his agenda through? What is your take on that?
See, Modi and the BJP has many arms. And when one arm is talking about peace and constitutionality, there'll be another arm which is organizing a riot somewhere in the country. And they all work under this umbrella, what they call the Sangh Parivar. So the Sangh Parivar will not be inactive. They will be working, very consciously as they have been in the past, and they will continue in the future to try to swing back the votes. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, there is a substantial and a very vigorous secular opposition, particularly among the basic classes, the workers and the farmers, and also the students, the science movement, the women, and the Dalit movement. There are Muslim progressives who are also working, to oppose the Shariat law being imposed on their community. All these things are happening. India is a very complex country, and what has happened now is that this democratic space, the secular democratic space, has increased. It's not just that the votes of the India Alliance, this India Alliance is inclusive. One of the eyes there is inclusive. It's not just that the India Alliance has increased the seats, but the democratic space also has expanded, and it is going to be used as vigorously, if not more vigorously, than the right wing. You saw that in the parliament today. The people that they tried to get out of parliament, like Rahul Gandhi and Mahua Moitra, now they are, batting and hitting a lot of fours and sixes. And certainly they're going to keep the right wing under pressure. So it is work in progress. And I'm very optimistic about things going ahead. And I think this work in progress is going to yield results in the assembly elections, which will be coming up soon.
Well, again, you're very lucky in that, because of elections in Pakistan, the February 8th ones are not looked at as a great success by most Pakistanis. Do you have any complaints about the fairness of the Indian election process? Did you see a substantial amount of dhandli over there, or are you more or less satisfied with what happened?
Pervez, we cannot describe the playing field as a fair playing field. There's so many things were done. Chief ministers were put in jail. The funds of the Congress party were frozen before the elections. So many, thousands of crores of rupees were funneled to the BJP through this electoral bonds. So all that is happening, but that's, business as usual. It's not something new. What is important is that the essential democratic nature of the Indian elections was defended. It had to be defended. If it were not defended, the elections would have been different. Now, for example, these guys, the BJP passed a law saying that the Chief Justice will not be part of the committee which will appoint election commissioners. Amazing act. They passed a law because they're afraid of the judiciary, of the impartiality of the judiciary. So this law will have to be removed. It will have to be reversed. So there are democratic struggles going ahead. And but what I am confident about is that if we were able to, function in between 2019 and 2024, that space has been defended largely. It has been extended, and it will be defended and extended still more. So, of course, I am no one to comment about what's happening in Pakistan, but I would say that yes, there is democratic space also in Pakistan, which has to be used as best possible. And here I would like to certainly use this opportunity to pay my respects to the memory of Comrade Karamat, the trade union leader from Pakistan, who I met very briefly during the World Social Forum in 2004. So, I'm sure that, there are more people like him. Of course, he was a rare person. But all of us have to get together to expand the democratic space as best possible.
It is so good of you to mention that, because here at the Black Hole tomorrow, we are having a meeting to remember Karamat.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so congratulations on a good election. I would advise you not to have a Form 45 over there. That could kill it all. Maybe that was our bad luck here. So now we have questions from the audience. Yeah.
नमस्ते. जैसे अभी आपने भी बात करते हुए इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स का जिक्र किया, तो इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स का जो एक इंडिया का एक बहुत बड़ा स्कैम भी उसको कहा गया कि जो इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स का जो पूरी जो स्कीम थी, और बिल्कुल इलेक्शन से पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट की तरफ से उसको अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल भी डिक्लेयर किया गया. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि इसका इलेक्शन के नताइज पे इसका किस तरह का असर पड़ा, और जनरल लोगों के अंदर भी इसका पॉलिटिकली कैसा असर पड़ा इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स के हवाले से?
जी हाँ, जरूर. इलेक्शन के पहले बीजेपी को कई जगह से उनको सेटबैक मिला है, और इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स का एक बहुत ही अहम, बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण सेटबैक था. ऐसा नहीं कि उनके पास पैसा नहीं था, क्योंकि इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स के अलावा पूरे कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर उनके पीछे था. उनके पास अगर इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स नहीं भी होते तो भी बहुत पैसा उनके पास था. उन्होंने पैसे का बहुत बड़ी तौर पर उन्होंने इलेक्शन में इस्तेमाल किया. मगर एक आइडियोलॉजिकल एक विक्ट्री था जो बाकी सभी लोगों को हौसला दिया. और आई ऑल्सो वांट टू मेंशन हियर दैट देयर वर सम पार्टीज, लाइक very few, but my party, the CPM, Communist Party of India, Marxist, we refused to take any money under electoral bonds, and we were the party that filed this case in Supreme Court. So for us also, and for the left, it was a very important victory. और लोगों को जरूर अच्छा लगा कि इनको एक फटका मिला है. ऐसे कई फटके मिले उनको इलेक्शन के पहले, और ये उसमें से एक बहुत बड़ा फटका.
बहुत शुक्रिया सर, आपकी बहुत कैलकुलेटेड और कंपोज्ड जवाबात आपने दिए हैं, जिससे हमें हिंदुस्तान के बारे में कुछ मज़ीद जानने का मौका मिला है. मेरा एक सवाल है, उसके दो पहलू हैं. मैं ये जानना चाहूँगा कि आजकल के हालात में जब हमारे पास कोई, यानी दुनिया में कोई उस तरह कम्युनिस्ट या सोशलिस्ट रियासत बाकी नहीं रही, क्यूबा में भी बहरान है आपको पता है, और फिर नॉर्थ कोरिया, चीन या रूस का तो जिक्र ही नहीं करना चाहिए, और वियतनाम वगैरह भी ट्रांसफॉर्म कर गए हैं. तो क्या नज़रियाती मोटिवेशन या मुहीज है आपके पास हिंदुस्तान में कम्युनिस्ट सियासत करने का, हम थोड़ा जानना चाहेंगे. और दूसरा ये कि कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी इंडिया, माओइस्ट एंड मार्क्सिस्ट, वो कौन सी हिकमत अमलियाँ अख्तियार करती हैं इलेक्शन हों या इलेक्शन के अलावा आमतौर पर लोगों से जुड़त पैदा करने में. और कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी इंडिया पाकिस्तान में तो खैर 1952 में ही, आप मुझसे बेहतर जानते होंगे, बैन कर दी गई, और अब हैं दो चार पार्टियां, लेकिन बहरहाल उस तरह की कम्युनिस्ट पार्टियां नहीं हैं. लेकिन इंडिया में इतने अरसे से आपने सरवाइव किया है, वायलेंट नॉन वायलेंट दोनों वर्जन्स, फैक्शंस, एक्टिविज़म वहाँ पर रहा है. तो क्या स्ट्रेटजीज़ हैं जो आप लोग अडाप्ट करते हैं, और इलेक्शन में कभी कोई बहुत बड़ी जीत क्यों नहीं आ सकी, जहाँ तक मैं जानता हूँ, मुस्तकबिल करीब या बईद में आप कम्युनिस्ट पार्टीज़ ऑफ इंडिया को कैसे देखते हैं? और पाकिस्तान में जो सोशलिस्ट कम्युनिस्ट पार्टीज़ स्ट्रगल कर रही हैं, उनके लिए क्या पैगाम है या सिखलाई की कौन-सी बातें हैं जो वो आप लोगों से या हिंदुस्तान से सीख सकते हैं? शुक्रिया।
आपने जो सवाल पूछा है वो काफी बड़ा सवाल है और शायद इसी सवाल पर एक पूरे 1 घंटे का कार्यक्रम हो सकती है, मगर फिर भी मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि ब्रीफली इसका जवाब देना। देखिए, मैंने शुरू में कहा कि भारत की हर स्टेट की एक अपना इंडिपेंडेंट एक परिस्थिति है, एक इंडिपेंडेंट पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन है। केरल में आपको पता है कि एक लेफ्ट एंड डेमोक्रेटिक फ्रंट वहां पर इस वक्त स्टेट गवर्नमेंट में राज कर रहा है। और इस बार जब चुनाव हुआ तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट में अच्छे वोट लिए, मगर हमें 20 में से एक ही वोट हम जीत पाए। आप पूछेंगे क्यों, तो वो अपने आप में एक बहुत लंबी और बहुत ही डिटेल्ड डिस्कशन करना होगा। पार्लियामेंट में शायद लोगों को लगा कि इस बार इस परिस्थिति में कांग्रेस को दिल्ली भेजना ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है और हमारे वोटर्स हो सकते हैं कि इस बार हमें वोट नहीं दिए, जो पिछले बार भी 2019 में भी करीब करीब वही हालात थी। तमिलनाडु में हम 2 सीट, सीपीएम 2 सीट जीते, सीपीआई सीट जीते। इसलिए जीते क्योंकि हम वहां पर अलायंस में थे। वो इस तरह के हर स्टेट में अलग अलग परिस्थिति है। अभी जो महाराष्ट्र में असेंबली इलेक्शंस होने जाएंगे, हो सकता है कि सितंबर, अक्टूबर, नवंबर में वो होंगे, तो हम उम्मीद करेंगे कि इस वक्त हमारे एक एमएलए है, 1 मेंबर ऑफ लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली, मगर हम उम्मीद कर रहे हैं कि इस बार वो 1 का 4 होगा, 5 होगा, और उसकी संभावना है, दैट पॉसिबिलिटी इज देयर दिस टाइम। एंड here we still, in every state we have to work out the strategy. Of course, in a country like India, elections are important. They are important for 2 reasons. One is to keep the right wing out. That is very important. And the second is to make gains for the left and democratic forces. तो लेफ्ट एंड डेमोक्रेटिक फोर्सेस सिर्फ इलेक्शन से अपने आधार नहीं बनाते हैं। लेफ्ट एंड डेमोक्रेटिक फोर्सेस उनके मास ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल ट्रेड यूनियंस है, फार्मर मूवमेंट है, और ये सारे जो अलग अलग सेक्शंस हैं, वहां पर लेफ्ट मूवमेंट इंडिया में एडवांस हो रहे हैं। मेरे ट्रेड यूनियन मूवमेंट में भी हमारी मेंबरशिप हर 5 साल में या हर 3 साल में जो हमारे कॉन्फ्रेंसेस है उसमें एक इम्प्रूवमेंट हो रही है, और सिर्फ हमारे नहीं, बाकी ट्रेड यूनियंस की भी हो रही है। वैसा नहीं कि एक बहुत लंबे प्रक्रिया है, और सोशलिज्म भी एक ही क्रांति में, एक ही इंसरेक्शन में होगा जैसे रशिया में हुआ। शायद दुनिया ऐसे प्रगति नहीं करेगी, मगर जब भारत में एक राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट वहां पर पास होता है 2009 में, और वहां पर हर एक बाल नागरिक को राइट टू गुड क्वालिटी एजुकेशन, ये शब्द गुड क्वालिटी कानून में आया है। हर एक बाल नागरिक को गुड क्वालिटी एजुकेशन का हक है। ये जब कानून में आते हैं, ये भी सोशलिज्म की तरफ से एक कदम हम लोग आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। ये सरकार जो है वो राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट में उस बात को निकालना चाहती है, तो उस पर फाइट होगा। तो ऐसे अलग अलग क्षेत्र में वर्किंग क्लास और फार्मर्स, किसान और मजदूर, उनको संगठित करना, उनका संगठन मजबूत करना, जो असंगठित क्षेत्र अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर है उनके ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को बनाना, ये काम लगातार चलता ही रहेगा। और ये अभी उसके लिए स्पेसेस जो है वो कुछ हद तक वो बढ़ गई है.
Thank you for this enlightening discussion. I had a question about the education policy under Modi. We had heard and also read here that science textbooks are being rewritten, history is being rewritten, and I would like to know from you how extensive is that project and how much damage has it caused, because we are suffering from the damages of similar projects over a long period of our history. And is that a federal initiative, or are the state governments responsible for the content that the children in that state are learning?
See, that is an important aspect that you have raised, and that is about whether it's a federal or a central, matter. Until 1976, education was a state subject. In 76, the constitution was amended and it was brought into the concurrent list, which means that it is both the center and the state who have powers in education. What is interesting now is that the NEP, National Education Policy 2020, which the BJP government enacted, this has been criticized on many grounds. One of the important grounds is that it is trying to, do away with the Right to Education Act, the universalization of quality education, and talking only about, giving access to education, but not about outcomes. Whereas the earlier policy, prior to NEP 2020, did not talk only about access to education, but also talked about good quality outcomes as being necessary. That was part of MCF 2005. But what is important is that many state governments, or not many, but some state governments, have said that education is a state subject. You have changed the textbooks. We are not going to change our textbooks. That statement has been made very categorically by the Kerala government, by the Tamil Nadu government, now recently by the Karnataka government, hopefully soon by the Maharashtra government. And intellectually, the attempts to dilute the textbooks and to remove the science aspects, remove the periodic table, remove evolution from the textbooks, this has come under substantial criticism from all sections of the scientific community. So I would not say that this government is making any great progress in that area. In fact, they are on the back foot there also, and they will continue to be on the back foot. Whenever a new government is formed, if the textbooks have been changed at the NCERT or the national level, those textbooks will be scrapped and proper textbooks will be prepared. And in any case, students today don't depend on those textbooks. So this is a battle where we really have the progressive, secular, democratic, scientific forces. We really have the commanding rights, and we intend to maintain those and continue to use those.
Well, that's an important battle that you are winning. I wish we could say the same for ourselves. Yes.
No, I have not said that we are winning it, but we are not losing it.
Ji.
Okay, the battle is on. The battle is on.
जी मेरे 3 सवाल थे. एक जनरल सवाल था, 2 स्पेसिफिक थे. जनरल सवाल है कि ये इंडिया में मतलब स्टेट्स में डिफरेंट है, बहुत ज़्यादा स्टेट्स हैं, लेकिन मुसलमान और हिंदू अलग-अलग रहते हैं, लाइक सेग्रीगेटेड कम्युनिटीज़ हैं. इज़ इट टैबू फॉर मुस्लिम्स टू कम्युनिकेट विद हिंदूज़? सोशलाइजेशन बिटवीन मुस्लिम्स और हिंदूज़ कॉमन है, और जब से बीजेपी आई है ये चीज़ ज़्यादा टैबू हुई है, कम टैबू हुई है? ये बस जनरल सोशल स्ट्रक्चर का पूछना था. दूसरा स्पेसिफिक सवाल था, कभी कभार बीजेपी मोदी पासमंदा मुस्लिम्स के बारे में बात करता है, कहते हैं ये सबसे मार्जिनलाइज मुस्लिम्स है और इनको हमने रीच आउट करना है. मतलब मैं सुना भी था कि आरएसएस का लीडर था, उसने एट सम पॉइंट मस्जिद में गया था टू कम्युनिकेट विद क्या कहते हैं मतलब एक मॉस्क के लीडर से. मैं कह रहा था ये पासमंदा मुस्लिम आउटरीच क्यों करती है बीजेपी? और तीसरा एक पॉलिटिकल सवाल था, ये महाराष्ट्र में ये शिवसेना जो है, जो उद्धव ठाकरे की, ये भी हिंदुत्व पार्टी है, लेकिन ये इंडिया अलायंस के साथ है, मतलब कांग्रेस के साथ है. जो आरएसएस है वो क्या करती है? उसके अंदर डिवीजन है, मतलब द सम ऑफ द आरएसएस सपोर्ट उद्धव ठाकरे की पार्टी while the other part supports BJP. Like कोई division है within the RSS about supporting the BJP? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all three questions are very interesting. पहली बात यह है कि भारत में, इंडिया में एक्चुअली जो स्टेट लेवल पे कल्चर है वो कुछ हद तक रिलीजन्स से ताल्लुक रखता है, मगर शायद इससे ज्यादा वो लैंग्वेज से ताल्लुक रखता है. ये कहूंगा कि केरल के मुस्लिम्स और केरल के हिंदूज कल्चरली आर क्लोजर देन अ मुस्लिम फ्रॉम केरला एंड अ मुस्लिम फ्रॉम Uttar Pradesh, or a Hindu from Kerala and a Hindu from Uttar Pradesh. Same stands for Tamil Nadu. So what defines the culture, yes, religion is important, religion does play a role, but religion does not by itself define the culture, and there are other elements which are the regional elements, which are largely linguistic based, which are perhaps as strong, if not stronger. And Kerala Muslims and Hindu Muslims live separately, not at all. They live next to each other. There are some districts where Muslims are in the majority, and there are some districts where there are small minority. But in Kerala, in every aspect, from education to culture to films, there is a lot of integration based on the Malayalam language and the secular traditions of Kerala. People like Sri Narayan Guru, who was a Hindu, but a progressive Hindu. His ideology is something which was an anti-caste, an ideology just promoting equality. And there have been similar ideologies which arose within Hinduism in other states also. Like in my state, Maharashtra, there is a tradition of Jnaneshwar and Tukaram and so many other of the Bhakti saints of the time, and they promoted people of all castes sitting together. They promoted everybody being equal, under one God. And there is also in Maharashtra the Brahminical tradition, the Peshwa rule, the way in which the Dalits were oppressed during the Peshwa times. That tradition is also there. So there is Savarkar on the one hand, and there is also Vinoba Bhave on the other. They both are Hindus, but they talk a different set of values. And this aspect has to be understood. So what is important now is that people are understanding that, if you are Hindu, you don't have to be a Savarkar supporter. If you are Hindu, you don't have to support RSS. And I would not say that there is a divide within RSS about whether to support BJP or Uddhav Thackeray. I think RSS is largely or wholly with the BJP. But among common Hindus, yes, there is a divide, and a very healthy divide. That's the first question. Now, the second question is about Modi, taking up issues of Pasmanda Muslims. That is completely opportunistic. Modi will take up issues of Pasmanda Muslims when it suits him. But to now, in his 10 years, he has never worn a Muslim cap. He has worn all kinds of headdresses, from everywhere in the country, but he has never worn a Muslim cap. And he will go and hobnob with the sheikhs of Qatar and Saudi Arabia and do all that there. But he he's a very calculated person, and his support for Pasmanda Muslims is completely opportunistic. What was the third question?
It was on Uddhav Thackeray wala. I think हमने बता दिया.
Okay. I mean, I can of course discuss this a lot more, but I think broadly I've indicated, what's happening on the ground in Maharashtra.
Okay, so we'll have the one last final question.
थैंक यू सर. सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि रिसेंट गवर्नमेंट में इंडिया में जितना पॉलिटिकल लैंडस्केप इंडिया का ख़राब हुआ तो और हिंदू शेवनिज़्म को बढ़ाया गया, तो क्या सिर्फ इलेक्शन ही है जो सेकुलरिज्म को बचा सकता है, मतलब नई हुकूमत के आने से? क्योंकि हमारे साथ जो 70 में ज़िया का इस्लाम की वजह से जो मुस्लिम शेवनिज़्म बढ़ गया, तो जितने प्रोग्रेसिव लोग पाकिस्तान में उसके ख़िलाफ़ लड़ रहे हैं वो ख़त्म होने का नाम नहीं ले रहा और दिन ब दिन उसमें इजाफा होता रहा है. तो क्या सिर्फ इलेक्शन ही वाहिद हल है या कुछ नया मॉडल उसके लिए पेश करना पड़ेगा? थैंक यू सर.
See, speaking about India, I am no person to speak about Pakistan. I have not myself studied your problems and the situation, politics in Pakistan very closely. I just have a distant view of what is happening there. But see, elections are important in India because elections decide who is in the government. And the reason why the BJP has made gains over the past 10 years is because they have used the fact that they are in government in the center and in many states to bring their people who are very communally trained by the RSS. They have brought their people into the bureaucracy, into the police, into the army, into the judiciary. They have not been able to gain control of any of these, because there is also the other sections who understand what is happening. But they have been trying very hard for that. So it is when communalism receives the government backing and support, that is when marginal elements become, mainstream elements. And I think perhaps similar things might be happening in Pakistan. इसलिए पाकिस्तान में ऐसे सरकारें को, चुन के लाना जो communal elements को सपोर्ट न करे और जो इस तरह से पूरे जो एक अंडरमाइनिंग ऑफ द फैब्रिक ऑफ द सोसाइटी वो न करे, that is important. But that is not enough. By itself, that is not going to work. Apart from that, what is important and for which there is usually always room is the social movements and the mass movements, class organizations like the trade unions, the students' movement, the farmer organizations. The science, there's a very rich science movement in India. And I know the writings of persons like Parvez-ji. We use his writings on scientific temper in our work. And so I'm sure the kind of traditions that you have, scientific traditions which are there in Pakistan, these are all areas where we can work together. And at this level also, even if you're not in government, there are other spaces which can be defended, which can be protected, and which can be extended. And that is what has to be done systematically. Not just systematically, but I would say it has to be done very relentlessly, no matter what government is there. So there has to be a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is when you have government power, but plan B goes on irrespective of whether or not you have government power. We have to work in that very systematic manner.
Thank you very much.
Can I comment a little bit, Parvez? This is Wahid.
Oh, yes.
I wrote a chat, and because the question you asked about Muslims, which is, we all, in all democracies, including pseudo-democracies, democracies which leave a lot of things to be desired, we all in multiple spaces, each one of us individually, and as a family and as a society, right? So I'm a Muslim, I'm in America, I'm a leftist, I'm this, I'm that, etc., etc. So what happens here, and whether the government or the people in power promote, let's call it for lack of a better word, multiculturalism or not, we have to take, one of the theme that Vivek has been talking about is we have to take advantageously use the spaces that are available to us. These are democratic spaces. These we can work in, etc., etc. So when the question of Muslim representation comes in India, it is the government and the media which tell us who's representing Muslims. And that is actually very far from the fact. Muslims in Bombay are not represented by some mullah in UP, okay? They have their own interests. They have interest in education space. They have interest in trade union spaces. They have interest in multiple spaces. And which space comes to rule or which space becomes the determining space is what we work towards, right? So we have talked about the fact that, there's correctly that Malayalam Muslims has a lot less common with UP Muslim than he does another Hindu within his own region or within his own language, etc. So we all have these multiple spaces that we operate in. And it is the right wing which expects us and forces us into some sort of a very unitary model, right? If you're Muslim, you shall do this. And if you're a Hindu, you shall do this. And that's what we have to fight against, okay? And I think Parvez's question was somewhat misrepresenting because I don't think most Muslims recognize the so-called Muslim leaders that the BJP and the media talks about, okay? And Vivek can comment a little bit more on it if he can, please. I'll mute again.
Okay, thank you, Wahid. And thank you for the comment, important comment. It's just that we don't hear Muslim voices coming from India who are saying things that need to be said in the way that you said them now, or in the way that Vivek was emphasizing earlier. Vivek, thank you very much.
But those voices come, they don't come in as Muslim voices, they come in different forms, though, Parvez, right? Yes. Anyway, it's a longer discussion. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we are waiting for those voices. We are not hearing them. And they must be there, but we need to hear them from an organized party, or if not a party, at least by some expression of Muslim assertiveness. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you very much.
Parvez, I'll just intervene here and just make one comment. That yes, in India, it's not just Hindu communalism which is a problem. There is also, communalism in the Muslim community. There is communalism in the Christian community. There is communalism in the Sikh community. So all these communalisms, have to be tackled in their own way, and that is part of the democratic tasks that we are facing today.
I can't disagree with that. Thanks once again. Okay, bye.